Hello, welcome to the training for the PSAT 10. You should have in front of you a coordinator's manual that looks very similar to this. Of course, yours will not have my name on it. And it should then also say script 1, script 2, something along those lines, listing what type of room you're in and the accommodations that you may or may not be administering. If you do not have that manual in front of you right now, please pause this video and get the manual. You will want to have that in front of you to follow along with and to make some additional notes besides what I have already put in there. To begin the training, there's going to be, we're going to go over two parts right now, and then there's a second video you will need to watch. What we'll talk about is prior to the test and test requirements, and then we will talk about after the test. These are similar for every room that we have. You will then need to watch a second video that talks about the particulars to the script that you are working with. So let's go ahead and get started. So for all of the rooms that we have, well, first of all, you're going to pick up the materials on test day after 6:45 and before 7:10 in the cafeteria. We ask that you get them before that time because students are told that the test will start promptly at 7:20. So you need to make sure you've got enough time to get your room ready and set up for the students' arrival. What you need to do on that day, please be aware of these things, the different tasks that you have in front of you, and prepare yourself. I'm not going to talk about every item in this script. I have highlighted some, but it is up to you to please make sure you read everything and familiarize yourself with this manual. All right, during the test, prepare the room. Some different things you need to do here. But importantly, you need to make sure that the following information is posted: the date, the school's AI code, which is 143796, school's address, and the test room code, which will be listed on your roster. Account for all the materials. There are 3 separate times that you need to count the materials. One is when you receive them in the cafeteria. You need to make sure you count them before you leave. Make sure that your counts match what we say they are. That way, if there's any discrepancies, we can take care of that before you leave the room. You then needed to count when you distribute and, of course, when you complete, as listed in these bullets here. If there are any missing materials or any problems, you need to notify me as soon as possible. That way we can take care of it and get what you need. Like I said, that's why we need to make sure you count them before you leave the cafeteria. When it comes to admitting students to the room, it is important that you assign seats at random or by prearrangement. Do not let the students choose their own seats. You will have 2 rosters. You need to complete both of them. On every roster, you need to mark P for present or A for absent for every student. You need to do this on both rosters because one of them you're going to put out for attendance and the other is going to stay with the box. As far as collecting personal belongings, we're going to follow option 2. We are going to collect things, but the students are going to keep them in their bags. So you'll collect the bag, put them up in the front or the side of the room where there happens to be space. They should have their materials in those and the phones are turned off. If the students don't have a bag, you can see the third bullet here, that they will provide some clear plastic bags for you to collect the phones and other materials in those bags. You will have some you may have some students that have permission to have an EpiPen with them. That needs to be placed in a clear bag and stored under the desk. On your roster will be indicated any students that have that accommodation. Again, never allow students to seat themselves. You can admit students anytime up until the timed portion of the test has started. I'll point that out in the scripts themselves. When it comes to timing the test, you need to make sure you accurately time it. As it says here, students must be given the entire amount of time on the exam. So if it's a 60-minute exam, the entire 60 minutes has to expire before you can move on to the next portion. That way they all have the opportunity to get that done. Even if you only have one student, and even if that student is finished way early, you have to allow that time to finish. Recorded stop times in the book. Announce remaining time as indicated. Don't end a section early. We just talked about that. Complete the count of materials, including the testing materials report. That's on the back, or that's a separate sheet that you'll have. I'll point that out later in the video. And again, fill out the seating chart as well. Maintain security, remain vigilant, make sure somebody's with their books at all time. Don't allow students to access technology, including phones and wearable technology. You need to make sure that they don't have any earbuds in, they don't have any smartwatches on. Things have really changed since we started giving these tests years ago. Monitor the breaks, post the start and stop time, walk around, make sure that the test books are closed, answer sheets are inside of them. No, again, no phones or anything. Students are allowed to have a snack or a drink, but they need to step out of the room into the pod, and they need to be 6 feet away from other students when they're doing that. If students need to leave, they do have permission to go to the restroom, but you should only allow one or two at a time, and the hall monitors hall supervisors will assist with monitoring that. For an unscheduled break, so during the exam, if a student needs to use the restroom, that's fine. They don't get extra time. Please only allow one student out at a time. Make sure you collect their books. Don't leave the room unattended. Irregularity reports or anything that happens in the room that you think is inappropriate, please see me as soon as possible. I'll help you with the decision making on that and completing any paperwork if necessary. All right, so accommodations, just going to kind of briefly go through some things for everyone just so you're aware. If you're doing the pre-recorded audio format, there's some information here you need to familiarize yourself with. We do have Ben and Tanis and Sarah and Heather actually will be available as floaters during the day. They'll be coming around to all the rooms to make sure that you are getting going and that you've got any assistance you need with that particular format. That continues through here. In some of the rooms, we've got different breaks. Some rooms have extra breaks. We'll talk more specifically about these in the different scripts, but extra breaks means just what it says. Where there's not a break, they take a break. So between the different scripts, this is typically for longer exams. It's built in. Extended breaks means they get twice the time on those. Some students might have extra and extended breaks. That would be noted on your roster. And then we do have some students that have breaks as needed, so they can stop the clock to take a break as needed. Please take a look at your roster and the script that you have, and make sure you ask any questions before the test days so that you know what you're doing. Large print or pre-recorded audio, if you have those, again, make sure you read that, familiarize yourself there. We do have a couple of students that have human readers or scribes. If you're in one of those rooms, make sure you familiarize yourself with that. All right. Everyone's going to start here on test day. This is where the script is going to begin. We have not done a pre-administration session, so we do need to do some bubbling in of names and such in this exam for these students. So you're going to read the information that's in the shaded areas. You can see that I've crossed off some information, like this is about collecting belongings. Again, we're following A. We are collecting belongings as opposed to B. Information between the shaded areas is for you. It's not to be read. So you need to make sure you familiarize yourself with that. I just pointed a few things here about prohibited items. Again, phones, smartwatches, wireless earbuds, headphones. We've had students in the past that try and keep their phone running with the music up at the front of the room where you've collected it, and then they listen to music on their earbuds throughout the test. So you need to watch for that. Again, we didn't do a pre-administration session, but the students do have pre-labeled answer sheets, so you need to make sure you give them the correct sheet with their name on it. There's a few students that won't have a label because they've started here at North after the state ran these labels. We'll give you blank answer sheets, and they'll need to fill in more information. All right, so you continue through here. Coming through here, field 3 asks about if you attend this school, fill in yes. You may have some Compass students in your room. They may ask, say, well, I don't regularly attend this school. You're going to ask them to please fill in yes, because even though they're not physically in this building every day, they are still North students. So they should mark yes for that. All right, continuing on. When it comes time to distribute the test books, you're going to distribute them here, not before this. You shouldn't give them the books before they tell you to. It is also going to be important that you make sure that you give each student a test book. Do not give them a stack to pass down the row. The test books have serial numbers on them. You're going to need to record on the seating chart where each serial number sat in the room. So it's important that you give them to the students one at a time individually. Continuing on, again, keep them in serial number order. You need to record that information. Make sure they've got these fields filled in. It's important that they've got those done, else their test might not get scored properly. This gets you up to the part where then you're going to start the exam. Like I said, you got a second video you're going to watch that's going to talk specifically about your script that you'll be administering. At this point, though, for this video that everyone's watching, I want to talk about the after the test. So we ran the test. You did the first part. Now you've gone to your specific script. You've gotten the test completed. At the end, then we're all back on the same page here. So when it comes time to collect materials, you're going to check that fields 1 through 8 have been filled in correctly, and that they have filled in all of these things. Any identifying information is there. This is on the test books themselves. All right. Again, we didn't do a pre-administration session, so all students need to complete this additional information at the end. So we're going to go here to C. Everybody needs to do this. There's only a little bit they do. They're going to do fields 9 through 13, which is their address. And you're going to have them do that. They do not do fields 14 through 22. This requires parental consent in order for them to do that. We do not have parental consent for these students, so they must not complete those fields. Again, you're going to skip these instructions for those fields that they're not completing. You're going to collect, and students will be dismissed. Dismissal time at this point is, as I'm recording this, is undetermined. We're still working with transportation, as you can imagine, trying to get that set up. We will send out separate information about dismissal later. Continuing on to the next page, you do have some tasks to complete after the test. If you have a student that has recorded their answers in their book because they have permission to do that, then you need to transcribe those. And then finishing up, again, like I said, you need to fill in the seating chart. You need to make sure you complete and sign the test room materials report form. Make sure you've marked present or absent for every student on your roster. And then you're going to return the materials to the cafeteria where you pick them up. Some additional information that's in your manual is a list of acceptable calculators, irregularity chart, several pages of information for you to go through to help you understand some irregularities that may occur. That way you can kind of take a look at that prior to the test or use that as a resource during the test. As I mentioned before, you have a seating chart you'll need to complete. You'll have a separate sheet for this. As you can see, you're going to put in the serial numbers in the different seats as well as arrows showing how you pass those out. And then this does need to be completed by you. You will also have a testing room materials report. Most of this, or some of this, will be filled out by us when you pick up the books. We'll have the serial numbers that you have received already listed, and then you're going to list the serial numbers that you return. Hopefully they match. Also, you'll distinguish between used and unused, so we're familiar with that. You do have to sign off on that and take responsibility. Again, I've gone through the manual itself here. There's a lot of other information in emails and on the website. Please make sure you familiarize yourself with those. And at this point, you should go to the second video that is specific to the script that you have.